everybody, and welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
Today we're taking a look at City of the Living. This is a new game from Trick or Treat Studios, but a new game, I guess, would actually be a little bit of a misnomer. This is a zombie re-theme of a previous game called Prosperity. Is that right, Mike?
That's correct. Yeah, it came out from Ystari, publisher Ystari, back in 2013, and that one was themed around kind of environmentalism, trying to control the pollution versus, building things. So, yeah, it's a very different theme.
To be honest, though, this would help pollution if zombies just took over the world. That would help a lot.
Nature is healing. So let's show you how this game plays, and then we'll come back and give you our thoughts.
Okay, we're set up for a game of City of the Living here. This is a zombie defense style game, and the way you win is a victory point track up here called Advantage, and the game ends when the last tile is drawn. We're set up for 4 players, and every player has got a board. And on the board, it's set up like this. So you're going to notice this little area right here, and this is where all the icons come from. You're going to have tracks here. This is set at 0 because the checks, you've got 4 checks. And then, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got 4 of these X's here, and that gives you a net of 0. Over here, you've got lockwise, you've got 2 locks, and then you've got 4 unlocks. So that's going to move you down to a net of -2. So this track is going to fluctuate up and down as you purchase things. So as these get placed over here, you're going to fluctuate up and down. And what does that mean? Well, let's go over a full turn here. So first off, you're going to draw an improvement tile, which is one of these, and that is going to show you what to score. So for example, this one is going to score the cooperation, which is the check right here. And it scores 0 here because you're 0. And if you're here, you're 2, you're going to get 2 barrels of oil you can place on your board. Or if you're down here, you're going to get 2 more zombies over here on this zombie track. Or you can pay -2, you can pay 2 barrels for each zombie to not get them. For example, if I were here, I could pay 4 barrels to not get any zombies. That's the beginning of the turn. You're going to draw one of these and you're going to score that according to what it shows. And then you're going to place this tile where it says it goes, right here. This is going to go, there's a gray one, it goes on this one. So now you get to do 2 actions on your turn. First one, you get to gain 2 fuel. So you can grab 2 of these fuels, put it on here. And then also you can fight a zombie, meaning you can go ahead and these actually shouldn't be there, that was an example. You could remove a zombie, just like that. Or you could advance 1 space on the scavenge track. So up just like this. And then you can also buy a tile, which is one of these. Now, how much are these tiles? Well, if they're going to be here, if they're on the same track you are on, then they're going to be 2 oil to buy those. So if I'm here, this would be 2. However, if I want to buy from a track above me, that's 2 plus 2, so that would be 4. And you go as high as you can afford. Now, if I were up here, everything below me is only 1 barrel of oil. So even if I were way up here, then everything below me would be 1 barrel of oil. So that's an advantage of going up the scavenge track. I'm going to go ahead and buy this one, the spiked bats. All right, I will get rid of 2. Then I'll place it here. Now you notice they have these X's here. This means this blue tile cannot be placed here until 1 is placed here. And if 1 is placed here, then it unlocks both of these locations. So you can't just place a blue in here. So what I could do is I'm going to place this right there. That's going to give me 1 more lock, but it's also going to give me 1 more of these X's, so this goes down. Then you've also got right here the locks, the way those score is right here. Take a look. If I'm down here to -2, that means I'm going to get 2 zombies. Now why does that matter? Well, this zombie track is going to go up, and these advantages, these will score later. And if you're up here, you can't score at all. So you kind of want to keep an eye on this. You've got right here, whatever's highlighted is what you're going to score. So this time you score barrels. So you take a look, I've got 2 barrels showing, so I'd grab 2 barrels and put them on here. Right over here, you have got scavenging. Scavenging is this track here. These are the scavenge tracks. So as you do this, you're going to take a look at how many you're showing. 1, and that's it. We've just got 1. So you're going to move up on either scavenge track you want to do. All right, and then finally, you could also have this right here is advantage. Those are victory points. You're going to see how many are showing up. And right now I've only got one that is showing, so I would just move one up on the track right there. But later, of course, if these are over here or something, then I could actually have more. Okay, so you're going to keep going until the last tile is drawn, and then you're going to do one more in-game scoring. And in-game scoring, you get to do the cooperation twice, which is whatever this is. That's going to get you oil, or it's going to actually give you zombies, depending on where you are. You get to do defenses twice. So if you do have a lot of defense, you can start killing zombies there twice. Then you're going to do fuel once, so you're going to count up your barrels, and then you're going to pull those barrels to your board over here. And then for every 6 barrels, you're going to get a victory point. And then also you're going to score whoever's highest on each of these tracks is going to get 3. And then the second place gets 1. So that's another advantage in getting high on those tracks. And then you're actually going to score your victory points one more time. So you're going to take a look at your board and you count up all the victory points that are showing. And then you're going to move up that track. So those are final scorings during the end game. And you're going to calculate all the points. And you're going to see who won and who is the best at defending their city from zombies.
So this is a game from famed designer Reiner Knizia and Sebastian Bleasdale.
Okay.
And this, it's funny because when I heard that this is a zombie re-theme of a previous game, I thought, oh, okay, well, this... how's that going to work out? And I think actually the theme of this one works out pretty well. I like the idea of kind of fighting off the zombies, trying to build up your compound and everything.
Yeah, this doesn't help the argument that many of Reiner Knizia's games are essentially themeless, because I actually, going into this, I had similar concerns to you, Chris, especially since I had played Prosperity a number of times, and so that was kind of, my background coming in, and surprisingly it works very well with a zombie theme. So yes, maybe again, that doesn't speak to how these games are always developed theme first. I think he said that many times they are, but I don't think so in this case. And the co-designer, Sebastian Bleasdale, although also a designer in their own right, is a primary play tester in Reiner Knizia's group too. So it's an interesting collaboration.
Yeah, it's interesting, the theme, because it's not one of those, obviously, the typical zombie theme. And you wonder if people that gravitate to this because it's a zombie game, are they going to kind of be Lords of Waterdeep? It's like...
Lords of Water duped.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm going to grab this D&D game. It's like, well, there's a lot of working going on. So I kind of feel like that might be what people see about this, as long as they, still dive into it.
Right.
You'll see it.
And I think that zombie track is thematic. If you're being overrun, you can't score any points if you're up at that top.
Right.
And otherwise, you're trying to kind of fend them off. But for the most part, you're trying to build the correct things and trying to kind of puzzle them together so you're higher up on tracks. You want to
Lots of tracks.
move up in tracks in this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of track movement on there. And I do like the whole city building aspect of it. That's kind of fun. But that also creates a lot of bookkeeping. There's a lot of bookkeeping when placing those tiles and replacing those tiles. And I would get lost in the weeds sometimes, like, okay, I lose one here, gain one here. Wait, which side is good? There's a couple times I'm like going back and forth, and you got to make sure you adjust it. Otherwise, though, it's nice to kind of, it's easy to, if you don't adjust, it's a visual check, so it's not, you can't get too lost, which is good.
Yeah, there is, like you said, a lot of internal administration going on throughout the game. Essentially every turn, you're going to be adjusting something, and often multiple things. And so, yeah, you can sometimes get a little bit lost, but as you said, you can always check. Everything is open information. You can see where you are on the cooperation track versus the defense track, all of that kind of stuff. But what are your thoughts? I kind of wanted to see what you thought of this, because this is one of the things that I kind of noticed when I was playing Prosperity, and it carries over here. Every one of those scoring tiles are going to come up once. How often did you adjust your strategy to trying to do a little bit of prediction. You're never going to know exactly until the last tile, of course. But did you use that as a level of strategy in the game?
I would quite a bit because, like, if I saw, say, the scoring, the points came up at the beginning of the round, and I saw the scoring tile I was going to buy, I would know that, hey, if I can move up this track and get that for either cheaper or get past it and get that for 1, that would really, really benefit. And that's probably the one time I would do it. If it's towards the end of the round, I wouldn't really do it as much. But beginning of the round, it was really nice. It did play into it a lot for me.
Okay, because each scoring tile is once per era, I guess they're called.
Or, era, I guess.
Yeah. So once you see it, you're like, I'll not have to worry about that for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate that there's that kind of stability within the randomness of it. The randomness of the events is a little bit of a bother, I think, really depending on player count for me. And I don't know about if you guys feel this way, but I think that's... I like the system of building up. I like, green tile, cover green tile, positive or negative, where do I net on all these things? I like moving up the tracks. But the more players you play with, the less opportunity you have to kind of react and be able to set yourself up before an event tile comes in and is going to affect everyone.
Right.
Mike, I don't know if that was your experience.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. There's definitely a fair bit of randomness and luck in the game. Anytime you're kind of just pulling tiles semi-randomly, I mean, they are random, although, again, you know that there's 5 tiles and each one's going to score once. But within that, you can get hosed just by nature of when you pull a particular tile, and you may be looking for a thing that kind of you've been building towards, and it just, it doesn't happen at the right time. And so I do agree with you, and especially in a 4-player game, as you said, it's going to be more impactful more often.
It's almost a push your luck style mechanic, too, in the whole fact that you are hoping that shows up towards the end of the round. There have been times where I'm like, I really hope that the track movement doesn't happen until later, and you get caught right before you're going to grab that and get 2 more icons. You're like, so close.
Yeah, and it's funny because on the 4-player side of things, there's just more tile flips before you get in action to be able to kind of set up for that. And then when we play 2-player, you have kind of the opposite effect where you have, the luck will get you every once in a while, but you can be pretty well prepared a lot, to the point where the game, I think, is actually significantly easier at a 2-player game. About halfway through the game, we're both just kind of completely out of zombies and had literally no threat of more zombies coming onto our board because we were able to just be kind of positive in both of the tracks.
Yeah, and that's something interesting. I think this game is really good at 2. I think it's almost probably best at 2 for me. And I remember playing at more player count, like I played a Z at a full 4-player count, and I almost could not see him over his stack of zombies. And I'm like having to look around. You still back there, buddy? And it's just so really, because you can get just wrecked by 3 people going in between.
Yeah, and you brought up the action that you take. You get 2 actions, and you can take the same action twice or 2 different actions. I didn't find the actions terribly exciting. Okay, it's basically, hey, take a zombie off your board. Okay, get a couple of oil. Okay, I felt like those actions were almost... They were an afterthought, really. It's really all about the manipulation of your tiles and moving up those tracks and trying to get things where you want them to get. Now, yes, sometimes they can be vitally important, and that's going to be very situational, though. Oftentimes, I felt like those actions were kind of like, I guess I'll remove a zombie. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll do that. I wish the actions were a little bit more impactful more often.
I agree. And I also think that the player interaction is virtually 0 in this. And I say virtually because there are certain times you depend on the other people. Like, for instance, if you see a tile that you want, you're closer to that tile, you're like, can I buy it now or later? There have been times where I see a tile, I'm getting closer to get it cheaper, then someone just up and spends 8 or 10 oil to get it, and you're like, man, I should have bought it for 4 or whatever. So there's that type of play interaction, but besides that, that's pretty much it.
I agree. Buying the tiles is the most interesting action. It's the most interactive point of the game. And I don't need a lot of interaction in all of my games. But with this one, it feels like my takeaway from it was I liked it. I like kind of building these little tracks and your incomes and stuff. It's a little more random than I want it to be. And it's lacking something, whether it's more player-driven or whether it's more game-driven. I did find it a little bit lacking.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts kind of before we jump into scores and everything?
No, I'm ready to go.
All right. Joey, do you want to start?
All right, I'm going to go in. I think I like the game. I don't know how often I'd go to it. I think the track was interesting. I think you do have different avenues of victory. You've got that right and left track, and it's interesting. I've tried each one just to kind of keep them even or just fly up one. But honestly, for me, it's not one I'd gravitate to. For me, this is a 6. I enjoy the game. I don't love it. I think it's good, and the zombie theme is interesting. But like Mike said, when it comes down to if you get a lot of zombies, when your turn could be just, kill one zombie, kill another zombie. That can be kind of lackluster.
Yeah, for me it's a 6 as well because there are aspects of it I find very fun. I like as you can get higher up tiles, you can really start getting benefits, and there's a lot of sacrificing. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of security, and get more unlocks to get a lot more check marks. And so I see some of that Knizia flair where you can't have everything. Until at some point in the game you kind of can have it all, and at that point the game becomes less tense and it more so just kind of plays out a little bit. That being said, it's still fun. It's like just an above average game for me. If your 5.5 is kind of your middle of a 1 to 10 scale, it's just above average, but it's not one that I'm clamoring to come back to. But if you are looking for something that's not too difficult, then don't play this with 4 players. Play this with less than 4.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be kind of a fun time.
Well, it makes sense for a publisher that makes horror-themed games to have 3 6s on this one, but that's what we're going to get. So when I played Prosperity years ago, it was a game that I always thought was like interesting, pretty good, but there was something about it that left me cold. And I thought, well, maybe this retheme, maybe there's something about that's going to make a change. And it didn't. It gave me the same exact feeling of, it's good, but it leaves me a bit cold. And I think I finally came up with what I think it is. There's 2. One is that one of the things I tend to love about Knizia's games, and a hallmark of his best games, is their elegance. I don't feel like this game is very elegant. I think that it kind of plays in fits and starts, and it doesn't just flow smoothly. There's a lot, like we said, of kind of changing and adjusting and all this kind of stuff on your turns, and that just doesn't feel elegant to me. But I think the bigger thing is that I feel like it's in the scoring that it loses me. I feel like there's a huge disconnect between what you're doing and how you eventually score. Like, it's really hard to explain early in the game, if you're teaching this game to new players, it's hard to explain really how that scoring works. I mean, sure, you have those symbols that are just the achievement points, but that's not the only thing you have to think about. And there's a lot of things that I feel like are just disconnected from your final goal. And so I think for me, the biggest issue in this game is that I don't really like the scoring. I think it's too convoluted for what it should be in a game that's relatively easy to learn and play. And it just, that doesn't match for me. I don't think the scoring fits the game. I think it's a little obtuse when it shouldn't be. And it's not as elegant as it should be. So there we go.
All right. Well, there you go. I mean, for a retheme, like we said, it works well. I like the production. I like so much about it. But I agree right there with Mike. The scoring could leave a little bit more to be wanted. So there you go. The Number of the Beast for City of the Living. Thanks for joining us for this Dice Tower review. My name's Chris Yee.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Have fun protecting your compound from the zombies.
No Iron Maiden reference?